welcome back to another battle report, folks. Tonight I'm going to be playing Brian. Still playing remotely here in Scotland. There are some opportunities to play face to face, but maybe in the next few weeks you might actually see more than one actual person beside the table, but we shall see. Now, I've been using the Romanians a lot, as you've probably seen if you've been watching the recent battle reports, and I'm going to give them another run out. Next week we might be doing something different, but we'll see. So we're using Bagration Axis Allies again for the Romanians. Now I'm playing Brian, and he's going to be doing something that he's not done before in Flames of War, and that's playing Soviets. So we kind of sat down together and worked out a list that would be hard for the kind of Romanian lists that we've been using to beat when in defence. So I'm basically going to try to shift a big pile of Soviets in a defensive situation. So we'll see how that goes. We're going for a quick format just now. We're a bit short in time, both of us this week, and it's hot in Scotland. It really is. I've had to shut the windows to keep the noise of the street out for when I'm doing the recording, and I'm already feeling it. So we're going to try and get a quick game in. So we're just going to go straight over to looking at the army lists. Let's start with my Romanian list. So this is the motor rifle basis for the infantry, but I've used larger platoons than you'll have seen me using in the previous games. And I'm also using Stugs, so Romanian Stugs. We'll see how they do. So the formation is company command, then 2 9-base platoons with a Shrek, and I've actually managed to rebase some of the Shreks. And part of that formation is some mortars, ordinary medium mortars. Then they have a Stug formation. We've got one suspiciously early Stug there. That's the company command, folks. I don't quite have enough Stugs. I've got 6 basically, but we won't let that get in the way of the game. So that's 2 formations. Then in support we've got what I'm going to use is 75mm artillery, 2 batteries of them with an observer. Then armour car platoon, and still unpainted, folks, but I'm waiting on being able to get my 3rd TACAM T60, and then I shall paint them. But a platoon of them too. So they've got a fair bit of mobile anti-tank, no static anti-tank, some good smoke options, and some large, remember these guys are rated as careful, so a large group of careful rated infantry that could, and we'll go through this when we're in the game, they could end up with a veteran skill level, but we'll see what the dice say about that. This is Brian's Soviets. Similar to my Romanians, there is an armoured formation and an infantry formation. So the infantry formation is, I've not actually got everything out yet, folks. Company command, which is not on the table. These large ordinary motor rifle. This is not the hero version, but the ordinary motor rifle version. So they don't have a particularly good skill, but they can still hit okay in assault. Otherwise they're the same, they're aggressive, so they're hitting a 3 up, but they're green. There's lots of them though, so that could make a big difference for me being able to shift them. Then as part of the formation they've also got 6 heavy machine guns that could chew my infantry to bits, 6 mortars that could take on my artillery. It could be a bit of an artillery duel, as you'll see. And then 4 very good anti-tank guns. These are the 57mm anti-tank 11, firepower 4, so it's not as good as a 76mm, but anti-tank 11 is very effective. Then they have got a formation of Hero T-34-85, so they can chew up Stugs, I would imagine. That's a company command and 2 platoons of 4. Then in support, got Katyushas for that big template, and then for heavy hitting work, 122mm artillery. So a large but not very well trained infantry formation, a small but well trained hero tank formation, 3 units of artillery in total on the table. It's going to be quite a big ask for these Romanians to be able to shift them, but we'll see. It could be an interesting challenge or a challenge too far for my Romanians. The T-3485 is split into two types in the game, the standard type and the hero type. Now they're all hit on a 3+ because they're aggressive. Both types are confident, however the standard types have a 3+ last stand. The hero versions have a skill of 4, whereas the standard type skill is only 5, so that's not very good for them. Now the hero types also have the rule of crafty, which means tactic type rolls are on a 3+. Now they've got a tactical of 12 and a very quick cross country of 24 inches, cross check of 2+, a 28-inch range on their main gun with an anti-tank 12, firepower 3 and 4 dice of MGs for the soft targets. Speed and mobility are key strengths of the T-34. The Soviet infantry in this battle are just a standard rifle battalion. These guys are aggressive, confident green, but they have a 3+ motivation because of the commissar, and they hit on a 4+ in assault. They've also got the hurrah special rule, which allows them to launch assaults from 6 inches, which is very good. Now the rate of fire is only 1, whether halted or moving, but that does at least mean that they're at no penalty for what counterfire they can do when being assaulted, because it doesn't get any worse or any better than 1. Now they come in large numbers. You can have either 15 or 22 bases in the unit, so they can be a very good attacking or blocking force. Romanian motorised rifles represent the more well-trained and experienced infantry that are available in the Romanian options. They are careful, confident, trained. They have a last stand of 5+, but that can be improved to 4+ using the peasant army rule. They have an assault of 3+, which is defend the motherland. Now the training level of 4+ can also improve to 3+ with the peasant army rule too. They have a halted rate of fire of 3, a moving rate of fire of 2. They're very much like Panzer Grenadiers in that respect, and you can attach Panzerfausts, add a Panzerfaust and attach a separate Panzerschreck team. They also have an option of a 60mm mortar, which could give you a very useful template weapon for pinning opponents. Apologies, these are not painted, folks. I will get around to it when I get my third one. Now the TACAM T60 is one of the dedicated tank hunter options for the Romanians. It's careful, confident, trained. Just like other Romanian units, it can take advantage of better ratings with the peasant army rule. It has a last stand of 5+, but that can improve to a 4+. Its training level of 4+ can improve to a 3+. Now this weapon is very much like a Marder, and that's a good way of thinking of it because it was inspired by the Romanians seeing German Marders. So it's got a 76mm gun stuck on top of a T60 chassis. The gun has a range of 32 inches, a rate of fire of 2 halted and 1 moving, anti-tank 12, firepower 3. Now that's very similar to a Marder, and it's like a Marder. It doesn't have a very good cross check of a 5+, but it's a mobile, hard-hitting anti-tank gun that will be a good complement to either static infantry forces or to an attacking tank force. So the mission we rolled was encirclement. As you can see, it's quite an interesting deployment zone. The defender's got this large sort of salient sticking out the front. An objective can be put in, and as the attacker you're either going to go down the flanks or try to converge on that front objective, so it's quite interesting. And you can also see there's going to be scattered reserves for the defender. So special rules are ambush, minefields and scattered immediate reserves. Now one thing about the minefields, guys, is one minefield for every 50 points in this game. So you can't throw up a big line of minefields or block off all kinds of avenues of approach for the defender in this game. Most likely down to the fact that you could really block one of the attacking deployment zones if you had lots of minefields. So it's a very interesting game. Victory conditions are standard. The attacker can win the game if they end any turn with no enemy within 4 inches of the objective. Defender wins a turn from their end of their turn 6 onwards with no enemy within 8 inches of the objective. So there you go. There is a mission encirclement. We have deployed. Brian has chosen this side to defend. This side over here might have been good as well. Might have been better for hiding things, but it feels he can snag me up in the town a bit and force me to come over open ground a bit. So he's gone for this side with some good maybe firing position, ambush positions and so on in the fields and the woods and such likes. So objective markers, I placed both in this mission. I've put one here and one over there. Now Brian has his T-34s in reserve, and that's so just a quick calculation, that's 41 points, so that's a good split for him. And then he has one platoon of the motor rifles here, plus observer on the hill. In the wood there is 122s, company command with a platoon up front. Now he's done a wee break here just to try and minimise the impact of my artillery. I'll come back to that. He's got mortars here, heavy machine guns beside and in the church, and then Katyushas round the back. Now the Katyushas are the most vulnerable of his artillery weapons because they're just a 5-up unarmoured tank save. So he's trying to keep them out of sight, but he is aware that there's an open flank, so he's put these guys down there. I have done a fairly even split. I've got sort of infantry over this side in the main and tanks over that side in the main, and that's also a good split according to the mission rules. And here my plan is my infantry are going to do better in cover, certainly better than over there moving into the killing ground of 2 motor rifle platoons who could be shooting at me. Over here I can do a bit of a flanking manoeuvre and get my guys at least in bulletproof cover as they move up. And I've put the artillery over here to support them, partly because of the split but also because of ranged in markers, but I'll come back to that. Then over here I have my mortars, the Stug company, and then these guys around here, armour cars. So ranged in markers, minefield, sorry. You only get 2 in this game for the defender, I'm relieved to hear. It's 1 for every 50 points, so there's 1 on this bit of the hill. It means if I'm going to use this hill as a staging point to attack there, I'm going to have to go that way or that way. I can't go the shortest route over. Kind of makes sense. And then 1 for that junction there, which once again makes it trickier to move through the town for my guys and also protects the flank a bit. Ranged in markers, that's the Katyushas, so it's covering a huge area here to deny it to my artillery, to be honest. That's his plan. That there is his, double check, 122s, so he must be thinking I was going to put artillery over there. And then just on top of this hill here, stop me using it perhaps as an observation post or a position even for my artillery, is the mortars. And then for me I've got my 75s here and my mortars there. Romanian turn 1. Now I keep forgetting to go through the peasant army roles. So, might as well start around this side. That platoon of Stugs and the Stug company command got the 5 or 6, which means they now have a trained skill rating and a last stand of 4. And then over here, one battery of artillery got the better rating, and it's actually this platoon over here. One platoon of infantry got it. One point to make though, these guys have got the better rating, but if they're using an observer to range in, which is over here, he's just got the trained rating. So that's not so good. So there you go, folks. There's 1, 2, 3 units plus a company command have the improved rating. So in terms of movement, these guys have cautiously moved up into some cover. They just took a tactical move up to there. They couldn't get much further forward anyway, the armoured cars. The infantry moved up with successful follow-me's. There are some in this building, some in this building, some in this building. These guys moved up here to get line of sight on the Katyushas. Then in terms of shooting, we'll start over here. They only had 3 shots because they were moving, didn't get any hits. That was always going to be the danger of the Katyushas in this game. Wherever you put them, they're going to be in trouble. The artillery, the veteran ones, ranged in over here and managed to get, they got 3 hits, 1 kill. Infantry no shooting because of the follow-me's. These guys no shooting because of smoke. They're going to keep their scout got the ground benefit. And these guys, as you could probably guess, laid a smoke barrage just to get me up there one turn, nice and safe. The other 75s ranged in here, managed to hit 4 guys who are under the template, and they all passed their double saves, no, the reroll successful saves. So they're pinned, but they're quite happy. So there you go, 1 heavy machine gun out of that horde has been killed. Over to Brian for his turn 1, and he's rolling for reserve straight away, remember. Soviet turn 1. First of all, motivations. These guys unpinned, the heavy machine guns did not. Then Brian decided to keep his ambush. I've got to keep moving forward, plenty of good terrain to drop an ambush, so he doesn't have to do anything precipitous. And he got reserves. And he rolled a 5 the way they come on. So it's over in this corner. So ouch. So in terms of shooting, that was the only thing that moved really to move onto the table. In terms of shooting, everything aimed in here. The Katyushas right in the middle. The 122s failed to range in, and the hold on a minute, just try that. The mortars ranged in there on the 3rd attempt. The Katyushas got bucket loads of hits, but not a single failed firepower for the failed saves. There were a few failed saves, so I've got to unpin and get the hell out of there, or I'm in trouble. The heavy machine guns also added, even though they didn't unpin, they added some shots and they got the only kill. Then the T-34s fired down here, got a kill and a bail, because it was pretty much just straight to firepower for any hits that they got, and Brian's moved them on just into short range and no more. So, a good bit of retaliation from Brian and some important artillery bombardments going down. Let's see what I can do. These guys are going to be on a motivation next turn, and if they don't get back in, they are reluctant. Romanian turn 2, and now that was a very, very busy turn. Motivations, first of all, the most important ones really were these guys unpinning and getting stuck in, maybe going for the Katyushas, and both platoons failed to unpin, even with the company commander there to help them out. He did unpin, so they've just dug in. This bailed guy got back in, which meant they didn't have to do a reluctant last stand. And that was it for motivation. In terms of movement, these all stayed put, they just dug in. They're going to get clobbered next turn, unfortunately. They stayed put. The Stugs all moved up to get into assault position, which was a bit of a crazy move considering how bad Stugs are in assault. when they're crewed by Germans. When they're crewed by Romanians, it's even worse. In terms of shooting then, ordinary shooting, the artillery, the mortars ranged in over here, got 4 hits but no fail saves. The one platoon of 75s that was already ranged in here never got any hits, and the other one's ranged in on the steeple, which was close enough to catch them but didn't get any hits. So quite ineffective. These guys all 4 shots, 3 hits with 2 kills and a bail, so can't complain that was really effective. TACOM T60 so far still holding their own. And then these guys are all in, sort of pulled back after breaking off in the assault, but what happened was the platoon with the better assault rating of 5+ and the better motivation as well of 4+ with the company commander to help out managed to chew through 7 bases of infantry before they had to pull back with one of their Stugs destroyed. So that's probably not a bad return, but I'll be getting ambushed next turn, I think. Over here though, this was a bit of a crazy one, but I gave it a go. They killed 2 bases of infantry before Brian managed to, because I hit on 6s. The fact he killed 2 bases is a bit of a miracle. I was hoping he would just run away. But Brian managed to bail 1 and then I broke off because they're reluctant and didn't have company command to support them. So, lots of casualties that turn, but also lots of failures on my part to keep the attack moving. So still very much game on for Brian, and I reckon, as I said, there's going to be an ambush and he might get more reserves. Soviet turn 2, didn't bail back in and then the survivor ran away. Ambush, popped over here, reserves, again rode in for this corner. So that was quite handy. Everything else unpinned apart from the heavy machine guns. Then in terms of movement, everything pretty much stayed still. They just came on to get within shot range of the TACOM T60s. And then in terms of shooting, they moved on, 4 dice, 3 hits, oh dear. The TACOM T60's luck was not in this turn, so they're gone. Right. Anti-tank 8, I think, isn't going to do much against them. Then, ridiculous shooting again with artillery. Didn't kill a single one with the Katyushas out of this platoon or that platoon. But the Katyushas killed the company commander saying the command. Can you believe that? So that is quite a heavy blow for them, because they're not going to get that motivation bonus. And then, more crazy dice rolls. Ambush pop, 8 shots to short range, got 5 hits. 2, 2 and 1. He targeted the company commander and I joined to that platoon. He saved. He had 1 chance to kill, 1 chance to bail, ended up with just a bail, and then only 1 chance to kill and ended up with a bail. So, still around. We'll see what happens with them in terms of motivation. But it's Brian's reserves have all come on in the right place in respect of a counter-attack. I've not got a lot over here, but the battle's over here. So, well, the objectives are over here. So we'll see what happens, see if I can get any significant motivations for next turn. Romanian turn 3. So in terms of motivations, folks, they all remounted. They've got a reluctant kind of rating, to even not a very good rating, even if they've got the Peasant's Army roll, but they get a 3+ remount regardless. So they got back in. The infantry managed to unpin over here after the sacrifice of the brave company command. Managed to unpin. And then in terms of movement, they're kind of across these buildings here, still within what was the template of the mortars, but that's not strictly speaking important. But 1 platoon's in here, just check, I know where everybody is, and then another one is in here, right? That's where they've ended up. And then you can see over there the Stugs have all moved around. Now that I know where Brian's tanks are, they have moved around to here. Then I used my last bombardments last smoke bombardment, sorry, to put one across anti-tank guns and then one across the front of the T-34s to give my guns a bit of leeway, but also my infantry too. And those heavy machine guns that can still have a go at my infantry as well. So that just left an assault, and I came out of this house. These guys here were pinned, though it seems it makes not much of a difference in terms of counterfire if you're a pinned mortar rifle. It's rate of fire 2 moving as well. But we came out of here, 4 hits on the way in, failed 2 saves, killed 2 bases of mortars. Brian decided, well, he couldn't move the mortars in, so we'd have to take another round of combat, potentially lose more mortars, and then maybe get some guys counter-attacking. Whoops. So he just broke off, and I've consolidated into those houses. So Brian has got one last reserve to come in, and that's going to be his tank company commander. So over to Brian for his turn 3. Brian's turn 3, in terms of motivation, the mortars didn't unpin. Tried to dig in as well, but didn't. Company command didn't unpin, but these guys here did. So did the heavy machine guns. In terms of movement, I'll just put that back. He dashed him as far as he could around there. He could go after guns, but the battle's over there, and it might get pretty tight pretty soon. So in terms of shooting, the Katyusha's rearranged in over here. It was a sort of sweet spot in terms of how close it was to himself, how close it was to these guys. Didn't get any casualties though. The 122's finally ranged in. They ranged in on, I'm hitting that church again, ranged in here and managed to get 1 kill. These guys managed ridiculous. It was 10 hits out of about 16 dice, in 5s or 6s, and they managed to kill a guy in there. So that's 2 from that platoon. Heavy machine guns got 1 from this platoon. So they took a bit of a beating that turn. The T-34s couldn't fire because they dashed to get as far along there as they could. Oh, sorry, the reserves. The last tank, this could be critical for the game. It's a bit of a stinker. It came in over in this corner and it was constricted by the wood, but a T-34, they've got a 2-up cross check, so I'll just drive through the wood, says the T-34, then rolls a 1. I don't have very good line of sight on him, but I'm going to go for him, because if I get him, then the surviving T-34s will have to run away, and then I've got a much better chance. So, decent clobbering over there from Brian, bit of a stinker over there for the cross check. Romanian turn 4, that was an early turn for me. In terms of motivation, everybody who needed to unpinned and moved if required. These guys, the guys in here moved out, the guys over here moved up into here. Other movement was getting the maximum number of shots, which wasn't very much because of that hill on the company command. And then in terms of shooting, bombardments first of all, mortars ranged in, didn't kill anything, 75s tried and failed. Over here the other 75s ranged in on the steeple, but didn't hit anything underneath, unfortunately. But they're ranged in now. There are Katyushas underneath there. The platoon in here, these buildings fired, these guys got loads and loads of hits. The Shrek managed to kill one of the Katyushas, which was quite handy. But, you know, there was enough to pin these guys, but, you know, they don't suffer much of a penalty when pinned. So these guys tried to do an assault and got shot to bits, lost 2 bases. They're kind of in no man's land. One anti-tank gun got killed by these 2 stationary Stugs. And the most important bit, I got 2 hits. One was a potential bail, one a potential kill. The potential kill ended up as a bail. The potential bail was a successful bail, but he managed his motivation check. So the T-34s are still in the game, guys. Oh no. So we'll see what Brian can do in a bit of payback with these anti-tank guns, and deal with these poor guys in the open. Brian's turn 4, so in terms of motivations, I'll just take that away. He unpinned his anti-tank guns, didn't unpin the mortars, even with company command support. These infantry are fine. Even though he's got a reroll, he never go back in. He's still sitting there. So in terms of other movement, he's trying to get his T-34s over and into the fight before something bad happens. Oh, they didn't unpin. Excuse me, they didn't unpin either. So he's trying to get the guys over and just hope for the best. We forgot the wee assault. We'll do that off camera, but he's going to try one crazy assault with one base that can get in. There'll be counterfire. That one base going up by itself though reduces the effectiveness of the counterfire. We'll see what happens. So in terms of shooting, the guys dead, platoon gone, and then these guys suffered another couple of casualties. So that platoon's pretty much on its last legs too, which will break the infantry formation because they'll just have the medium mortars left. In terms of other shooting, getting close to a break on the Stugs too. Two of those anti-tank guns could see these guys but missed. The one that couldn't could see them and managed to get a hit, and I rolled a 2 for my save, so it was bye-bye for a Stug. It was front armour 8 at that range, so I was hopeful for a save, but there you go. So Brian gave me a wee bit of a hammer in that turn, and we'll just do off camera. We'll come back to it in the next turn to see if he even gets in, because he might do something to force him away, you never know. Might do something to help save his tank formation, but not too bad around for the Soviets that turn. Romanian turn 5. So in terms of motivations, the infantry unpinned, the surviving Stug went no chance and legged it. Then in terms of movement, the only thing that happened in terms of movement was a guy moving from here into there to get out of an artillery template. There's about 5 guys in that house now. Oh, the armoured cars moved up as well to shoot at anti-tank guns. So in terms of shooting, the armoured cars managed to kill one of those anti-tank guns, as did a mortar. And then over here behind the church, there was one 75mm already ranged in. It killed another one. A Shrek killed another one. And then the other 75s ranged in over there, managed to kill a mortar team. So the mortars never dug in again, by the way. So there's only one gun left in that platoon. But here's the important bit, guys. 6 shots, 1 hit. Failed to save. I failed my firepower. So Brian had to do a motivation with a reroll, and he failed again. So it's destroyed because of that, and that means they bugger off. So it's getting right down to the wire now. I have to get within the edge of that objective and do something to push him away from it as well, and that's going to come down to my Stugs. These guys at least hit on a 4+ in assault and motivate on a 4+. With a reroll from the company commander, but there is only 3 of them. We'll see if I can do anything. But Brian will have some assets left to have a go with at me first. Brian's turn 5, so heavy machine guns over there, and the mortar still didn't unpin, and the mortar still didn't dig in. Something wrong with the spades they've been issued. He did a bit of movement though. He's moving these guys, 2 of them, out towards the Stugs, because he needs to keep me away from that objective. Turn 6 is a critical one, you see. And he did a wee conga line towards the armoured cars that will end up along here with 2 bases. And then he's got various guys moving off towards the objective and keeping a screen against these guys here. Company command's also moving off over that way. And then in terms of shooting, he fired this, oh it stayed by the way, fired it at the armoured cars and missed. The 122s tried to range in over here and missed. Oh sorry, I forgot to mention the surviving Katusha runoff. And then that just left a wee conga line. 2 bases ran in, got 3 hits and counterfire, saved them all, bailed out the armoured car, hit once, bailed it out, and then they broke off and captured it. The important thing being that's within 8 inches of the objective. So he's now got a screen of infantry in front of the objective, and I've not got very much left to get to it. I'm going to have to assault my way in, and I'm going to have to do that next turn. Otherwise, it'll be game over. So let's see what happens. Romanian turn 6, the critical turn. So, I really just moved things up into position to assault armoured cars and Stugs. Not the best selection of assaulting vehicles. Did some artillery fire, managed to kill the last anti-tank gun, managed to pin artillery, company command as we're moving over, and that was about it really then. In for the assault, 3 Stugs went in, 1 got bailed here. The first round I killed 1 guy, killed it there, then counter-attack, he got bailed out. Next round, killed another guy, I got hit back, managed to make my save, never caused any casualties, he hit me back, didn't cause any casualties, and I broke off. And there you go, folks. That's as close as I am to that objective, which is not within 8 inches. So that's going to be a victory for Brian in his next turn, because he'll end his turn with no attacking team within 8 inches. So there you go, he just managed to hold on there and force off the attack. The most important thing, I think, was the fact he moved out, making the assault happen at a point where it was going to be the most advantageous outcome. If he'd have lost, I'd been further away from the objective with consolidation, and if I have to break off, I'm going to be breaking off quite a distance away from the objective. So there you go, folks, quite an interesting game, I think. There's not much left on the Romanian side, I have to admit. We'll go over for a recap. There you go, folks, a fairly solid win for the Soviets in the end. There was a few scary moments for them. The initial assault on my turn 2, for instance, it ate a lot of infantry up. And then the tragedy of the company command getting stuck in the wood. It took me ages to kill him, but that broke the tank formation. It might be possible on that list to get more tanks in it. You would have to remove the artillery, I think, though, because those infantry platoons are quite big and take up a lot of points. But if you just kept the 6 mortars, you could have another tank platoon, and you could have them on the table at the start as well and still maintain the 60-40 split. But they were really quite effective. I think despite the loss of the tanks, it was a fairly straightforward victory. I may have got confused and called them shock rifles or hero rifles at some point during the game, but they are just ordinary rifle battalion units. And in that respect, they've only got a rate of fire 1, but when you pin them, the rate of fire doesn't go down. So and there's a lot of them, so they can put up a lot of counter fire. So quite an interesting list. Now, the Romanians, well, I don't think I'll be taking Stugs again for the Romanians. I'd rather take Panzer IVs. Stugs have 1 more point of armour on them, and that's about it really. That's about all they've got going for them. They're not very good in assault, and if I hadn't rolled a couple of high peasant army rolls, they wouldn't have killed anything in assault, I don't think. So, no to the Stugs. Apart from that, the army performed as well as I maybe would have expected. The mission itself, you've got that sort of objective sticking out, and then your deployment zones here, so you're either going to close in frontally on the front objective, or you're going to go down the sides. I chose to go down the sides because I wanted my infantry cutting in through the buildings and hitting the flank. I could have gone through the front, but then it wouldn't be stretching the defence, if you understand. It wouldn't be any real pressure all over the table. Everything could just converge on that front. So I tried the split, and maybe with a Panzer IV list it would have worked. Maybe not. But it's always one of the choices you're going to get with that kind of mission. Head on or down the flanks. Anyway, thank you for watching, folks. Thank you to subscribing, rather. And if you haven't subscribed but would like to, it would certainly help us build the channel and get it out to other people who enjoy this kind of content. So thanks again, folks, and we'll see you on the next one.